Hi guys, so this is my response video to the video I just uploaded. I named it Confusion Before Christ Part 1 series because that was the first video that I called Real Talk, which is actually the name of my YouTube channel now, but I've just refocused it towards Jesus. So that was the first video that Trav and I ever did when we were sort of exploring just spirituality and conspiracies. And this is when I was, how old was I? I think I was like 23, so I'm 27 now. I'm turning 28 this year, so I've just written a whole bunch of notes because I just watched it, and as I was watching it I was writing notes, so I'm just going to be reading through them just to kind of give you my opinion on what I think about all of that now. So let's have a look what I've got. Right, so you can see how skinny I am in that video, and I've always been really skinny, but there I look like a junkie. Like I look sick. I did have braces, so that I did lose a little bit of weight because I had to change how I was eating, and it was really hard to eat at first because my teeth were so sore. But I was heavily smoking marijuana at that stage, so for years, like all day, every day, and you can see how high I am. Like my eyes, I don't know if you notice, like when I watch some people's testimony videos or I see what they were like before, you see this light in them when they've come to Christ. You just see the darkness kind of sucked out of them, and they look different. And I feel like in these videos that I'm going to show you, I feel like my eyes just look evil. They just look really dark, and I feel like now on my newer videos, I seem lighter. I seem like I'm not, I haven't got bad spirits inside me. So what else? Right, so I was swearing straight away on that video, and I used to swear a lot, and I still do swear sometimes. At work I find it comes out a bit more because I think just because I'm around so many people, and it just comes out maybe if I'm angry or in conversation. But there on that video you could just see there's a little bit of like an attitude to it, like I was trying to look cool by swearing. And so yeah, that's something that's definitely changed. So I'm basically giving my testimony in that video of how I think I've figured out everything, and same with Trav. And this is really funny to watch now because I was just so ignorant and naive and happy to explore anything that I could to try and find myself. So you can see I've always wondered, is there a God and why are we here? You can see that I was thinking that from kind of day one. And that's never really gone away. I've always thought that. My use of crystals. So at that time, I think I said in the video that my friend from work was using crystals, and she suggested that I use crystals, and then I got really into them. I found a crystal store right near my house, like 5 minutes away from my house, at that time where I was living with my mum. And yeah, I'm still a little conflicted on the whole, like, should Christians be using crystals? I chucked all mine out just because I was using them ritually, and the way I was using them was not anything to do with Jesus. And so while I was involved in light witchcraft, metaphysics, and New Age, and like Eastern traditions, I would be using them in those little rituals. So I was already opening doors to spirits coming in and darkness. So they attached themselves to the crystals, and then obviously the crystals were all around me and in my room and in my space, so I got rid of all of those. What else? Synchronicities. So back then I was really into like synchronicities, which was like coincidences, which, you know, things lining up, and I still kind of like, I know that nothing is coincidence now, and that God puts me and everybody else in certain places at certain times, and he already knows everything that's going to happen. So in a way, sometimes it's like we see our destiny coming toward us as far as getting closer to God or whatever, and things happen mysteriously for God's purpose. So, but back then I would be saying like, oh, it's synchronicity. I was just thinking about the color red, and then I saw the color red. Like, it's a really silly example, but like, you know what I mean? I say that we are open to any kind of theory about what is going on. Yeah, so I was pretty open to admitting that I didn't know everything, but I was open to going down the rabbit hole to try and find out answers. So we're quite aware of the state of the world as far as the dumbing down of society, and the government using that as a form of weaponry. I was already aware of that, and I feel like, though that's still a focus of mine, that's what kind of led me to God. So I was aware of things like chemtrails and vaccines and GMO food and like pharmaceuticals and things like that. I mentioned that people should be ultimately doing what makes them happy, which as a Christian now I know that is very dangerous, because it becomes all about the self and taking our eyes off Jesus. So that can be dangerous, because if you're only doing what makes you happy, you're never taking yourself out of your comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can't get the answers you need if it's just making you feel happy. Sometimes people need to feel uncomfortable. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes you need to be put in a different state of mind. So doing what just makes you happy, it's kind of selfish. And like, it's great to be happy, but when you come to Christ, you realize it's not really about being happy, and it's actually really tough. And telling people the truth and putting yourself out on the line, it actually becomes quite hard and sad, and you get frustrated and you get tired and exhausted, and it's not just about being happy. I say that we are the ones to save ourselves. No, and I can't agree with that now, because if we keep admitting that we are the ultimate answer to fixing everything, again, we then have no need for a saviour. And Jesus says in the Bible, I don't have the verse on me, we can do nothing of ourselves. We need him for everything. We weren't even, he created us. We couldn't even have a body, feelings, thoughts. We couldn't move. We couldn't do anything without him. He gave us knowledge. He gave us nature. He gave us water. He gave us food. And yes, he uses humans to fulfill his purpose, but we are not the ones to save ourselves, and that's really dangerous thinking. And I'm sure a lot of people think that way now, and I can see how that can lead into sort of do for self kind of attitude. Let's see, what did I say? Yeah, Jesus came here on earth as a human to save us. Becoming a Christian means dying to yourself and realizing we need a saviour. And Jesus is that saviour because he fulfilled what we humans couldn't fulfill. That's what I've written. Sun gazing. So This didn't last very long, but it was like a little phase I was kind of going through where I must have picked it up from someone's YouTube or someone's research, or where you sun gaze and you like stare at the sun for like minutes at a time. And like I looked up, I kind of stopped doing it, but like at the time I thought it was really cool. And what have I written? Yeah, I got a little obsessed with practicing this and later realised this was another scheme of the New Age and sun worship, which we've got to be careful about. Drawing on Eastern philosophies, it claims that humans can absorb the sun's energy directly and efficiently through their eyes by staring into the sun for extended periods. Yeah, so if you look back to like old Egyptian gods and Nimrod, it's all about sun worship, and again, it's just another false religion. It leads back to another false religion. I talk about the ever so popular 1111 and using symbols and numbers as a form of experiencing so-called synchronicity. I used to see numbers all the time, actually, and I know that like a lot of people do, but I know that Freemasons and the occult, they're all about numbers and symbols and letters, and I don't understand how that can lead me to Jesus. Like, that's not, it's just taking my eyes off Jesus again. So I say a lot in all my videos. Trav and I would be saying a lot source or source field. I first heard this term when I was heavily studying New Age and metaphysics and was actually listening to a lot of David Wilcock at that time. I thought he was just this spiritual like guru. I just thought he knew the answers to everything. I even purchased some of his books. Like, I wasted so much money following some of his teachings. So I think Trav says source field is a design, and then he asks who knows who designed the source field. My husband and I, so we're so on the track of trying to figure out who God is, but we're just knocking on the wrong doors. Like, we're opening the wrong doors. What else? He then says he believes source field is what they call God. He's just started commenting on church and not to believe what they say in church, which is kind of funny now looking back at that, because I would have to say for the most part that statement is kind of true still. I do not trust churches. I've been let down by just so many online and in person, and not the people. It's exhausting trying to find a church anywhere, let alone Australia. Most churches these days are apostate and have completely sold out to Satan and pagan traditions. They all follow Easter. They all do Christmas. They don't talk about not so much prosperity gospels, but it's just like they find a little topic and then read a little sermon and then that's it. Like, there's just no life. It's either so legalistic or all about like walking around speaking in tongues and no one's understanding what's happening. Like, I haven't been able to find any in person, so I don't go to church. I follow an online ministry, Three Hearts Church, all the way in Texas, and I couldn't have gotten this far without that church, to be honest. So Trav goes on to say, he's talking about Jesus, funnily enough, and he says that Jesus may have been real. This is very interesting hearing him say all of this, because I'm actually the one being quiet and he keeps bringing up Jesus in little small sentences and I'm not saying anything, which is so weird now, because I'm like it's all I can talk about and think about ever. And Trav sort of sits back a little bit and lets me kind of harp on about how obsessed I am with all of this. Right, so, and then after that I said, Trav says something about the cross and it's how it's female and male, and then I say something about Jesus is the one that said that, and that's why he wears the cross. And I don't know why I said that. That doesn't even make sense why I said that, and I have no idea where I heard that. So that was just silly. So Trav seems more in tune with admitting that Jesus could have in fact been true, and he mentions God more than me in a lot of the videos. What's next? Oh, so I've just said the words that make me sick to my stomach. I have just said, pray to yourself. You are your own God. These words, it just makes me sick. I can't believe how deluded I was when I said that. Satan's been trying to trick us into that one since the beginning of time. He was saying to Eve, oh, is that true? Did God really say that? Did he really say you'll die? Because if you eat this fruit, you'll become like God. You'll be your own God. Like, have a bite. Isn't that cool? And that's exactly what this New Age pathway is ultimately leading people to. They think that they can ascend into higher levels and become their own God. And this is just, it's just so egotistical. Like, how up yourself do you have to be to think that you can save yourself? Like, we don't understand anything. We're like children still. What's next? Right, so I turn the camera to all my books and I can see a Buddha statue there. So that's red flag there. So my doors were already completely open to demonic influence. At this time, I actually remember in that house that Trav and I was sleeping, and I had my eyes closed and I couldn't fall asleep because I have a lot of trouble sleeping compared to Trav. And I remember I just heard, I felt like I needed to open my eyes, and I was kind of nervous too, but I was like, oh, just open your eyes, like, what are you scared of? And I could see these red floating eyes like staring back at me, and it just, like, at the same level that my eyes were at. So I was like laying down and like they were at the same level, like maybe half a meter away from me, and that's never happened again. And it was really creepy. And I mean, nothing good. What do you associate red eyes with? Like, you know what I mean? That had to have been an evil entity in the room or something. But I was terrified. I couldn't sleep for ages after that. It just terrified me. So I clearly had a lot of open doors, and a lot of demonic spirits were probably in my house. And in my room and just following us. So maybe that was just a manifestation of it coming out into the physical, but that creeped the hell out of me. So I think at this point in my life, I was heavily meditating. I was reading spiritual books on New Age. I was into chakras and chakra healing. I'd just been sort of reading about Reiki. I had multiple crystals all around my room. I thought I had a spirit guide. Let's see. And I noticed as well, Trav and I were so on the wrong path here, and we're so confused, but some of the stuff that Trav would say was actually right. And I think if you notice, it's like Satan knew that he was about to say something truthful in all of that garbage. And at some points in the video, you'll see in these moments, I start to be silly, or I try and take attention away from him. And I don't know if that's anything. I just noticed it in a lot of the videos that, like, Trav will be sort of saying something, and he'll say something that's still true, and then I kind of like get in the camera and try and like interrupt it. So I don't know what that was about, but I did notice that I did that a lot. The people that I was shouting out to, like, there were 2 people that I was like, oh, shout out to blah blah, were pages that I followed on YouTube. I don't remember what they were about. I don't really remember who they were. I think one was a guy and one was a girl. And I think that's the end of the video. So yeah, I'm actually ashamed at my whole demeanor. Like, I just feel at that time I thought I was so confident and knew who I was, and so, but I just had this way that I was carrying myself, like yeah, I'm high, I'm so cool, and F this and F that and F the government. And I'm just giggling and silly, and it just kind of makes me sick, because when you come to Christ, you understand the importance of everything, and you start to carry yourself like you have an important job. You're more serious, you're more mature, and every day has meaning because you can plant seeds and spread the good news of the gospel. And here I am just acting like a child in some of those scenes in the video, and like I just wasn't taking anything serious. And yeah, I kind of wanted to do this reaction video with Trav, but he hasn't even watched the old ones yet. Like, I've been doing this while he's at work, and that video actually uploaded so quick. It uploaded in like 5 minutes, which never happens. I prayed to God right before it, and I said, you know, if it's his will, can he please put this out to people, out to YouTube, just so they can see what I was like beforehand. And you know, I've still got the same personality traits, but I was lost then, and now I'm found, and Jesus has saved me. I have not saved myself, because I could not have gotten out of all that on my own. I had been smoking marijuana for 7 to 8 years. I was broken. I was depressed. I had anxiety. I used to cut myself when I was younger. I would wake up and stare at the wall for hours and not understand my purpose. And this was in the middle of all this spiritual enlightenment, and I was just trapped. I was so trapped and so deceived, and God pulled me out of all of it. And he, you know, some of it he pulled off me straight away, and some of it is only starting to fall off now. And I could not be alive without Jesus. I could not function without Jesus. I can't breathe. I can't eat. I can't love properly. I can't tell the truth. I can't have courage and boldness. I can't fight in the spiritual realm and do spiritual warfare. I can't do anything without him. And that's what I'm basically trying to point out to people, is that, you know, I'm not putting you down if this is what you believe in the other videos that I was showing. If you're kind of in that boat, all of that led me to Jesus. He used all of that to show me, hey, look over here for a second, because everyone keeps forgetting Jesus. Everyone keeps moving Jesus out the way. And if he was such a great person back then and no one really has anything bad to say about him, why are they trying to hide him so much and just say that he was a prophet? You know, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose if you just take a leap of faith? And if you're so open-minded and spiritual to all these other things, why not try and pray to Jesus? Why not lay your life down? Nothing's going to happen. The worst thing that would happen is that you've wasted 5 minutes of your life praying to something that doesn't exist, and you can go on your way. But you know what? I don't think he's going to leave you in the dark if you sincerely ask him to show himself to you. So, yeah, this is my reaction video to the one I just uploaded. I might wait until tomorrow to put another one up, and then I'll do the same thing, and then I have one last video that I'd like to show you, and it has my friend in them as well. So my husband, myself, and my friend at her house are in the other two. And then hopefully Trav has been planning to do a testimony video of his story, so that'd be really cool, even if I could get on a video with him and ask him a few questions and hear what he has to say about it. But otherwise, yeah, I'm hoping that he'll do his own one soon and he can show himself to you guys. Alright, see you later.